let's dive right in. What the heck?
We have a quorum here. All right.
Latecomers can catch up. So we all you have to do is have the biggest hit sensation movie on TV, make it
Mm-hmm.
a musical, and then
Mm-hmm.
find a really slow weekend to release it as a sing-along version. How hard is that?
But Richard, it's 2025. I don't really know what took us so long here, but I will say, you go away for 2 weeks and Netflix is in the movie theaters. I mean, what's going on here, Richard? This is mayhem. You came back and Netflix is in the theatrical movie business. Were you blown away by this? Well, what's going on?
Well, you can't hide your light under a bushel when I mean I think of this as they're seeing the marketing value of a theatrical release here. This is essentially Netflix events.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Netflix
Yeah.
has had a
100%.
huge
100%.
huge live events presence, and this is there this was a great way for them to get that out there on an even bigger scale.
Yeah, this is like renting out a ballroom, Richard, and we're gonna have a bunch of people because the ballroom
Yeah.
just happens to be 1,700 theaters across the country. But like that's 2 days. This wasn't even a full weekend, and they're not doing another weekend. Most people will look at this and say, "Hey, we made $19 million here, and we left people who've been 1,300 sellouts. There's probably more money on the table here." But they're just looking at this like, "Yeah, no, we're good. Thank you,
Yeah, so
very much. Like, we're thanks for having us."
this is going to kick off the dance that you always have. Everybody saying, "Okay, so Netflix,
Oh
you're
God,
all in
it's yeah,
on
yeah,
theatrical, right?
yeah,
You're a
uh-huh.
theatrical company," and
Yeah.
them saying, I
Yeah, you
thank
have no idea
thank
what just
thanks
happened.
for thanks for giving us a place to hold our sing-alongs, but we're good.
We're good.
We're
Yeah, thanks a lot. We'll see you for Narnia in a year and a half, whatever it's going to be. But no, Richard, that's it. The Netflix events, and this is on the day that they just announced they're opening the Netflix house, their next thing, in Philly and Dallas in November and December. Like they're in events. That's a growing business for them, and we're growing. They had the big To Doom festival in May was a big thing for them. They are all about finding these kind of one-off. Where can
yeah
we hit on individual properties and make control the conversation? This is what all we're talking about again, and keep that narrative for that movie going, which has been, it came out in the middle of June. We're here at the end of August. So how can we keep people still talking about it? And you're exactly right. This is an event. It's a promotion. It's not a theatrical release where you just don't get what's going
and,
on here, Richard.
and to a certain extent, I've heard stories of the Knives Out success,
Sure.
and internally, that was viewed when they released the last Knives Out theatrically, and internally that was viewed as, oh great, we're sending people to movie theaters instead of watching on Netflix. That's terrific. That was
Yeah.
not, and I think because it's an event, it's a one-off, it's a special thing. It's for 2 days. I'm sure they're very happy about it and everything. But anyone who is under the impression that this is a sign that Netflix is going theatrical,
Yeah. And that
tamper
was,
your
yeah, take that down a notch. And, to your point about Glass Onion, that was almost 2 years ago at this point. They have not done it since. It wasn't like, oh,
no.
Glass Onion, we saw this as a big win. If they saw an upside there, Richard, they would have done it again. Since that point, they have not, and they haven't said Narnia is the only one, which is also just IMAX only, and that was part of the Greta deal, so that's even its own one-off thing. Again, another event only in IMAX that's not going out to all the 4,000 a 4,000 release screen release or something. So yeah, that's how you got to look at this stuff and how they view it, Richard. Exactly right. It's a different mindset that it's that's on paper
Yeah,
it's
I
something
mean,
different.
just to look at that, people are like, look at all the money you can make on. I'm just looking up Glass Onion's total.
Oh, it was 13 to
So
15 million bucks. Yeah, about let's call it
so yeah,
15 million
13 million.
over
So Netflix,
five days. That was 5 days.
yeah, so Netflix pockets 6 million. In the course of things, how would you quantify what $6 million is to Netflix?
That is, let me see. That is going to be, it may be in Happy Gilmore 2 budget terms. That would be, I think, 3% of the Happy Gilmore 2 budget, something like that, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So,
the daily subscription
Yeah, I think they
revenue
just
from
literally,
in
since you've been listening to
Belize or
this,
something? Or
well, since you've listened to this podcast, they probably added that much money in the subscription revenue today,
yeah,
to the revenue. So yeah, yeah. But yeah, I think Richard is exactly right. This is an event. This falls under the events group. This isn't a new theatrical group that they're building over there. But it is, about what I love about it, Richard, in a sense, is just, and this is, I give them credit. Like Netflix and says a lot of things about a lot of businesses, but their company that looks at it is not like, oh, we don't do that. Like they said, yeah, let's try this. It worked out. It was great. We move on. They don't sit there and dilly dally about certain
yeah.
things. And like that's what I appreciate about them is that like they're not
No, that
afraid to like, we don't do that. We don't go there. Sorry, we're never doing that. Like this made a lot of sense to do.
that has always been Netflix's superpower, that they are
Yeah.
just that they are willing to just dive in and try things and do things, and
And
from
move on. If it
saying,
works out, great.
yeah, no one's making rom-coms, so we'll do it, and or
Mhm.
we'll do a live comedy special. We'll do
Right.
we can do create, just trying things that nobody else does before. That sense of experimentation that
Yeah.
the rest of Hollywood has entirely lost, and it
Yep.
doesn't exist anywhere else in the business. So
And
that
tapping into a youthful, this is a young property again. Like it just speaks to all the tenets of Netflix as a brand, where it's not, something that's dated or appealing to older demos. It just fits it again. It just makes it exciting for that. And it's nice that Netflix has been doing movies for a long time now, and this is middle of 2025 that they found something new here that they haven't. This hasn't happened before for them, the theatrical bit, but then just having a movie that's still doing 25 million views over 8 weeks. That's never, Red Notice, Happy Gilmore, not even close, Richard. Like this isn't even, there's nothing. This is like, and someone mentioned to me earlier, it's like Frozen. This is like they found their Frozen. This is that kind
yeah,
of a Disney kind of thing that they've, found their way into here, Richard. So
and
we'll see what they do
I
with it.
mean, and that's the thing when you get a hit in I know it was having kids, when you get a hit with the young people like that, when you have something that like excites them and becomes something. I mean, no one people may have loved Red Notice. I don't think there's anyone who watched it 30 times. Like I
Right. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I'll bet I'll bet there are tons of people who have watched K-pop Demon Hunters 30 times.
Yeah.
I'll bet there's households that'll watch it
Oh,
10 times
guaranteed.
today.
Please, I mean, yeah, exactly.
It,
Well, now there's a new sing-along version they're dropping today on the service as well. A whole other version of the film to go watch. We'll see. When kids
that
go
will
back to
just be
school, well, maybe those who knows. But yeah, yeah, it'll live
that will
for a long, long time.
you know
So this
uh,
is, they've done Leo with Adam Sandler, and that was a big hit. But this is nowhere near even that with their biggest star that
yeah
they have with Adam Sandler. So again, just this new kind of hit that they have there. So we shall see where it goes.
yeah. All right, moving down so how we this is we're lurching to the end of summer.
Lurching's a good
So so
word. Okay, yeah.
so what's our total summer this summer versus last summer, which was a disaster.
Which was our disaster
Uh,
summer of yes, with the worst Mays
so
on record. Yeah.
so how do we compare to the so we're probably double that, right?
Yes, we're 2x, Richard. Exactly right. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
we are ostensibly flat, and we'll probably be a little bit down by the final numbers after Labor Day because Deadpool was still doing $15 million on Labor Day last year, and there's nothing really on the horizon. We had the Austin Butler movie with Aronofsky opening, which is tracking below 10 million. I'll put it that way. The Roses is also probably in that realm. So this Labor Day is probably going to be down versus last Labor Day. So we're going to be down probably technically from and by maybe 100 million or something like that from the disastrous
From a summer that
2024
was seen as a total catastrophe.
total write-off,
Uh,
or at least half a write-off. The May was a write-off, and then obviously Inside Out and Deadpool were the big ones last year. But
the well,
it's
the really bad news for Hollywood is that between now and this summer, there is no strike looming, no pandemic developing that we know of. So no obvious excuse for them to have next
yeah.
summer when they're down another 10%.
Yeah, we should. I know exactly, and we do have the guild deals are up the next summer. We should mention that as well. Of course, that's still looming for the next round of talks. But yeah, 26. I'll be diving into that probably maybe this week in the wake up. But yeah, it's
J-
Yeah.
so Jerry Minor, the great
Mhm.
Jerry Minor, asks us what we're hearing about Toxic Avengers, which may recall was my sleeper box office prediction at the
We'll get
beginning of
to that next week, but yep, that was your
the
sleeper. Yeah. So you take the
of
floor
the
then, Richard.
so the thing about Toxic Avenger is that, and it is just was just like Terrifier, is that their whole publicity campaign happens on a level that is like invisible
Yeah.
to Hollywood in the media, and we fancy folks who read traditional things out there. So they have assembled a network of like GoPro channels and podcasts that speak directly to it's a fascinating model that speaks directly
Yeah.
to horror fans. And I don't know if they've announced the spend on this. It would for Terrifier, their last big thing. I think their marketing spend was $80,000.
But
So
yeah. Yeah. Far under
uh,
1 million. But yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
under 100
A
under
100,000
100,000. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, potentially. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, so I all of that is happening here, but it's really hard for us to gauge how successful that is with that audience. But next week, there's a possibility that like zombies coming out of the grave, they will descend on the theaters and make my prediction come true, which
And then, listen,
we all have to root for.
for that reason alone, you need to be doing that. Yeah, no, listen, that could be the Labor Day surprise. There's no, that has, those kinds of things can happen from time to time where a film just pops like that. And then we should also mention Jaws is back in theaters for a 50th re-release this weekend as well. So,
That's right.
a little bit of nostalgia play there. I don't know that, it's going to be the K-pop numbers, but I think, it's, you never know. So yes, a few things that there could, I would love nothing else, Richard, than a Labor Day surprise to come in and save the summer and give it up a little small uptick over 2024. It's just it is a large mountain that it needs to climb, but I would love to see it. For the record, I want to make sure that I'm, not naysaying it. I'm just looking at what's out there, but. The Toxic Avenger is a good point, Richard. It's a movie that you're not tracking. It's not a trackable movie in a sense.
Yeah,
Terrifier opened to what was it, $19 million, back in
almost
2024 there.
entirely unseen, like almost.
Yeah, and that was not on anybody's radar at the point. So we'll keep a good hope, Richard, but we'll see.
Yeah, let everybody if you can go out and help make me be a genius by having predicted
I'm
that.
sure you could use it. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
meanwhile, weapons keeps on going.
Which was my sleeper prediction this summer, by the way. So you're up against that,
Yeah,
Richard, on that
yeah.
one.
Well,
So FYI, yeah, yeah. So we'll get to that next week. We'll hold our things, but I'm just if you brought up yours, I'm bringing up mine. So that's carrying the box office here in August. I mean, it's weapons or bust here, more or less, in the August titles. Uh, Still doing $15 million
yeah.
a
Wow,
weekend here.
you take that one film out of that
Oh my
one
God,
sleeper hit out of here.
be disaster. Yeah, August would be a nightmare. Just
And
that
and once again, another Warner's title that
Warner,
was
They're saving the day.
absolute disaster and so irresponsible that the whole team should be fired.
Hmm.
Comes up and takes the entire month.
Yeah, we're at $200 million globally, and still doing $15 million a week here in the U.S. So this has a lot of juice left in there, and not a huge. Well, until Conjuring comes after Labor Day, that's the next horror entry. So it has another weekend of the genre to itself. So nice to see. I know, a big win. People are talking about that movie. It's a lot of big buzz, a lot of it checked a lot of boxes there, and now it's on to PTA and Leo DiCaprio, but the main event's coming up, Richard. So we'll see.
So one thing about having a hit that occurred to me.
Yeah.
You tell me if I got all this wrong, but so one of the problems we're looking at is that the pre the pre-show entertainment is destroying the value of trailers because nobody comes in when trailers start going. Everybody
They're,
knows that
they're
the movie
showing up
starts.
at 25 minutes after the time that it's announced. Yeah, exactly.
So they miss almost all the trailers. But if you have a hit movie, then you control the last trailer to play.
Yes, right.
You get to put which I assume they put PTA in that final position
Or
for that.
Conjuring, but I don't know. Yeah, yeah.
Probably both of those back to back. So that's a pretty effective piece of real estate that you own on a hit leading in this thing.
That's a good point. Yes, if you're a studio on a roll, you have the key promotional slot to keep you on a roll, assuming you have movies people want to see, but you do have that last slot. You have the one trailer that are almost guaranteed everyone who's seeing your movie will watch. So if you have a hit movie,
And
yeah.
might and the way it goes when I the last two trailers might be the only trailers that a majority of the people are in their seats for.
Oh, I would say by far. Yeah, I don't know what the numbers might be, but I think 15 minutes. It's like there's some data that's polling data, but it's like the theaters are like 80% empty at 15 minutes, and it's from that point on it starts ramping up. But anything before the 15-minute mark, before your movie starts, like they're like it doesn't even matter. So
Yeah.
no, let's see. So we'll see. We got the festival season kicking off, and we'll see what nobody's seen the PTA movie really yet. So we'll see if the goods are there. So more to come from Warner's on that.
Meanwhile, it's Freaker Friday. How's that?
Yeah, it's we kind of let's button this with maybe two comedies. We had two comedies in August, Naked Gun and Freaker Friday, both updates of old properties. Doing fine. Now I think this is we're at 115 million globally. It's not going to quite get to what the original did, but it's going to make it. Richard, here's the. I mean, this is we're end of summer, so take this for what it's worth at this point. But I do the top 10 chart, the wake up every Sunday night, and I'm writing a lot of. It's making its production spend back, but it's not making its marketing money back. And again, this is all based on approximate numbers of budget reports and things like that. So. But it's just this model of just even from Fantastic Four to even Superman going to kind of break even on the whole, like including marketing money. That's fine. F1, all the hits of the summer are not profitable hits. The only two profitable hits this summer were Jurassic and Lilo. Like, in terms of and then obviously the weapons, but of the big movies, the tent poles, everybody else is kind of just making their money back on these event movies, and maybe even not making all their money back in terms of the theatrical of your production spend and marketing spend. So, and Freakier Friday, to your point, and Naked Gun both fall in this category where they're kind of breaking even on a production spend basis, but the say $30 to $50 million they spend on marketing will have to wait for PVOD money and other windows to kind of help out here. So it's just a caveat there, Richard.
So comedy certainly has a long life on.
Yes, you could. Yeah, right.
So if you can get into the neighborhood of break even or
I
not lose your shirt,
I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's just an observation. But yeah, I think for these kind of genres that do have years of life afterward, theoretically speaking, especially on streaming, ad revenue and things like that, these things that were not part of the equation before, 5-10 years ago, there was no advertising revenue on streaming. Now it's a big part of the revenue. So it's just more noting that again, these things are just shifting. The traditional things that have just been the bedrock of the business forever. These, it's a little more nuanced now in terms of, it's not, it's a good piece of business. It's just different than what it was before. So, and if you get a hit one, it's even better. The gravy's even thicker, I think, in that sense. So, which is why, again, Warner's, Paramount, Amazon, MGM, they're all like, yeah, we're making 15 movies a year. No one's, pulling back on the theatrical cadence. So just that's kind of where things are netting out there. And also just Richard, the international on a lot of these movies, across the board, Weapons, Freakier Friday, Fantastic Four, Superman, Naked Gun, they all make more money in the US. That's 5 movies there. So like, and across that's comedy, that's horror, that's a Marvel movie. It's just we'll see if this continues. I don't know.
I mean, I think we're gonna we are going to be talking about in a few months that about foreign audiences turning away from American films, or that the maybe not wholesale giving up on them, but kind of a pall over American films in a way that's if foreign if foreign audiences are down by a third, that's a
So
big
if they're
thing.
down by 20%, that's a big thing. I mean, again, most movies make more money internationally than they do in the US. That's been that way. This obviously when China fell out, that was a bit of a knock to that. But again, it's just it's a subsection in time, Richard, but it's definitely something I keep on tracking. I'll continue to track, as you say, through the fall. Is this just a one-off of like, it's just a weak summer and we moved on, or is this like, I think there's something larger going on here, as you say, about the interest in American film product, which has been, it is still the premier movie product in the world. But just something to note in the numbers there,
Yeah,
Richard.
I mean
That's all.
the evidence is still
Still coming in the door.
we
Yes. Yeah.
need more data, but
Yeah. Yeah.
to say it's conclusion.
And
But I think
speaking of this other, well, again, we're teasing our summer predictions here a little bit, but F1, a film that is making, was about 1/3 US and 2/3 overseas. That and Superman are neck and neck, Richard, for the title of I guess that's third biggest movie of the summer.
the,
So if you would have, who would have predicted
the
that at the start of the summer? That's pretty, either great for F1 or not great for Superman. I don't know how you kind of quantify that, but they're within under $2 million of each other now, Richard. So
yeah. So I'm looking down at the rest of the chart, and like if you're looking at if you're playing this as pure intramural thing, it's like, wow, look at that. Still bad. Fantastic Four is still hanging in at number four slot. But then you
yeah,
look at the actual amount of money with
yeah,
five
6
point
million
nine
bucks. Yeah, right.
million grow. Yeah, and Naked Gun is still in there, made another 2 million.
Yeah,
So
the number rankings are they're a smoke show there, Richard. Yeah, exactly right.
it's so I don't even feel like going down this list
Oh,
here.
no, yeah, that's just, again, I was top playing some observations, but I will pull out, I'm just pulling up the chart from last year, Richard, and I'm just good. So yeah, the numbers this year, again, you had Demon Hunters and Weapons doing over 10 million, and Freakier Friday at 9, and then there's a steep drop off. Last year, this weekend last year, you had 18 million, 16 million, 11 million, 7 million, 6. So like you had to get down to number 8 before you saw 4. And this year that ain't the case. So again, the depth of this chart is not great at this point.
No, that's alarming, I would say.
It's not an August to remember. No.
And I'd like to point out so Ron Howard's Eden,
Oh yeah, we have some
starring
space. Yes,
the
Jude
most
Law
talked
and
about star of our time, Sydney Sweeney, and
right. She's in the mix. Yeah,
open to 1 million. So is
million
1 million
bucks.
is a million Sydney Sweeney's box office number there.
I mean, she's not having a great month between that and Americana, which again was not a big theatrical release. But to have your name attached to 2 movies that both made collectively $1.5 million is not a great sign.
And I saw Eden a
Oh,
year
you
ago
did?
at Toronto, and it's
Okay.
not a bad movie at all. It's not I hope it goes on to find a life on treatment, because it's actually a really decent movie. So I'm not I I'm kind of mystified that nobody could put together a better package and campaign for this.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be on the list of his filmography as a kind of like, what happened. But interesting point there. And then, they did the Niza too, the big Chinese movie. They've been an English version that did 1.5 million. Not a lot of interest there. It did 21 million already back in the first quarter. So I think everybody who wanted to see that movie saw that movie. So, and what else? Good old Teenage Ninja Turtles, Richard, 35th anniversary did 3.3 million last week. So back to New Line, back to more money in the New Line vault. There's still 3.3 million for a movie from 35 years ago. So yeah,
The new Ethan Cohen movie with
Honey Don't. Yeah, there's not much. This is the proposed trilogy. I don't know if he's going to do a third movie, but this one, Drive Away Dolls, was the previous one, which did about the same number here over at Focus. So
I mean,
yeah.
Nobody too, which should have been a summer comedy action crowd pleaser.
I still go back to the date on this. I don't know. Again, this is a movie for, as I said to Chris last week, I'll say it to you this week, people like, the 40, 50s, Gen X white guys. And I'm like, you released it at a time when and you can't reach them via sports or other things. It's very, it's a hard time to reach that demo, where I just think the awareness on that film may not have been great. The 60% drop in week 2 isn't, a great sign either. So, yeah. That had a big PVOD home rental business last time, so I think Universal's primarily counting on that to kick in. But that was also 2021, so a different time in the watching in home business. So we'll see, but that did not really connect. So
all right, so my big takeaway is all this makes me very nervous.
okay,
that's my feeling here looking at this. This is like that we are. You go down, and you're headed in that direction, and at some point you just risk you go straight down, and it feels like we're, if you're going up a little, you don't worry so much about suddenly you're going to fall off a cliff, but
yeah,
this feels like look out for cliffs to me. Like,
okay. No,
what
I
do you,
mean, look,
what do
I mean, we can dive a little more into summer next week, the full wrap up. But I mean, it's not going to be a great summer to remember. But yeah, you've had one movie that crossed $1 billion globally. That's not great. And you only had 2 movies that are really making any profit. That would be on a large scale. I mean, again, Weapons will do very well, but it's not a $500 million movie. It's not that kind of thing. So, but that's it. Your other 2 hits are at going to be 600, maybe, between 600 and 625 million. It's just like, it's not and you have all these movies we just, talked about between Freakier Friday and Naked Gun, which were fine, but again, not doing tremendous business. So it is that sense of trepidation. I think you're right. Is like, but I mean, but the movie business has before, Richard. It's not the first summer that's gone like this. So again, but you got to hope that there's an upswing after that. And that, with this Avatar and Wicked, I mean, I think that's going to be end of year will be, and Zootopia. I think those 3 are going to be very, very potent come November, December, but that's also November, December. And we have, 2 more months here to go until that point. So
I'll say it again. It's all about the depth for me. It's all about this can't be a business.
One a week. Yeah.
That's the problem with talking about like this is theater now. Like I don't think this business works as just like, because if this is theater now, then what is that like? So we'll release 20 big movies a year and then nothing else, and
right.
and I don't see your movie theaters surviving in that. Like that just is a very different type of business, and I don't know. I don't know how that functions.
Yeah. No, this is mid-tier movies of, I'm going to say Freakier Fridays, but, $45 million spend, Naked Gun about the same, where, those movies for the money you're making on these movies, they're doing well. Like, I mean, making $115 million globally, probably 140 is a pretty solid return. But it's just the production spends are like, you just, that's where the math's getting a little tricky for me, Richard, where I'm looking at this, we're like, that movie needs to cost 30 to make a real good business out of it, and not 40. It's not a big difference, but will AI make some of these costs, down eventually? Where you got to think the studios look at the same stuff, even the big ones, the Fantastic Fours, where it's like 220, 25 million, whatever. That movie needs to now cost 175 to, because these movies aren't doing $1 billion. They're doing, 600 million, which is, again, not bad business, but again, yeah. So it's that calibration, Richard, that's going on right now, which is kind of a different flip side of the coin, I think, what you're talking about. And then the volume thing, I think next year, though, Richard, and again, there's a lot of talk about this, but I do think we're going to, again, wait till 26, Richard. But I think if these promises of and Amazon seems on point to do this. Paramount, I think, will get there sooner than later. Warner's, I don't, but I think the volume, there's a lot of talk about it, Richard. At least people are saying we're committing to this kind of stuff. And if you have Paramount, Warner's, and Amazon each doing 15, maybe even more movies a year, that is that math you're talking about where it's like, yeah, you gotta get back up to 2 to 3 movies a weekend in most part. And we'll see if that happens, but it's a long way to we're still 6 to 9 months before we even see that happening. So, yeah, keep a good thought.
All righty. Well, next week we put this summer to bed.
Exactly. Richard and I put our chips on the table. We'll be all in on our big expertise. So
let's go, everybody. Get out there and see Toxic Avenger on the big screen.
They can make Richard's dreams come true, please. Yes, exactly. Richard has a bet to win.
We can make me a genius.
There you go. If nothing else. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But thanks for joining, everybody. If you missed any of this will post on Substack at the Ankler in I don't know, a little bit. So you catch up in the conversation with all the K-pop and weapons. If you came a little late, the conversation does repost.
And Cousin Stuart, thank you for coming here.
Shout out to family. All right. Richard, always a pleasure. I'll see you soon.
See you soon. Bye-bye.